Hey everyone, Andrew here. Welcome to the final part, part 5 of the 2010 Mazda 3 detailing series. In the last episode here, we're going to go through just a little bit of the process I used on paint correction. It's not going to be a deep dive because, to be quite honest, this was the very first time that I've ever done paint correction on a vehicle. So I was really just kind of playing around, experimenting, getting a feel for how things work. Nonetheless, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. We'll show some footage of me compounding a panel. And then after we do that, we're going to go through the plastic dressing process and then the sealing process as well. So hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into the video. With the headlight restoration completed, I decided it was time to jump in and start tackling my first ever paint correction. Despite the car's paint being in pretty rough shape on the horizontal surfaces, really actually overall this car didn't have a ton of deep scratches and imperfections in the paint. Because of this, I knew that I could come in and probably get a really good result on the vertical panels that still had plenty of clear coat left on them. As for the tools that I'm using for this paint correction, I am using a Chicago Electric dual action polisher with a 6-inch backing plate that my good buddy Reese had just given me, along with some foam orange Hexlogic pads. For the liquid, I am using Meguiar's Ultimate Compound and Meguiar's Ultimate Polish that come from their consumer product line. When doing any kind of paint correction, you always want to keep in mind that you want to use the least aggressive method possible to get the results that you're searching for, the method that will be safest for the paint. With that in mind, I had actually done my test panel before I shot this video back on the rear quarter panel. The test panel is really important for this reason because it tells you which combination of things you need to use to get the paint to the level that you want it. I started my test panel with the least aggressive method that I had available to me, which was the foam pad with the Meguiar's Ultimate Polish on it. After doing a few test passes with just the polish, I realized that I wasn't getting the level of cut that I wanted to remove the defects that I wanted to remove on this paint, which meant that I needed to step up to the Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. Being a little more aggressive, it worked just a little bit faster and pulled out more of the defects. So I actually ended up using Meguiar's Ultimate Compound for most of this vehicle, but I wouldn't have known that unless I had done the test panel. Now, I had done a bunch of research on how to do paint correction before I ever even attempted this, so it's not like I was exactly going in blind, but still, the knowledge gained from actually getting hands-on experience with paint correction by actually holding the polisher and actually touching it to the paint, running it over the paint, was just super invaluable and actually a ton of fun. Without being hands-on, I wouldn't have had the sort of like just the feel for what it feels like when the DA is stalling out and when you need to like up the speed. I wouldn't have known how closely you need to watch the edge of that pad as it's rotating just to make sure you're not getting too close to edges, running up on glass or trim or anything like that. I won't say this paint correction went flawlessly. I mean, there was certainly some oops moments, some whoops moments, but that's how we learn. And so I know that the next time I get ready to go into paint correction, I'll have all of my memories from this experience to kind of help guide me more in the right direction for the next one. As for how this car's paint did come out, once I got the whole thing done, sort of using the process you just saw me do here, where I just do nice, slow passes, you know, sort of working in a small area and then buffing off. The results came out pretty good. I mean, much better than they were. I really wish that I would have had a microfiber cutting disc or a microfiber polishing pad just to get that little bit extra cut, because there was some defects that I feel like I was just almost about to get out, but didn't quite have the time and patience or the cutting power to get them out, which was okay because I didn't want to just start, you know, grinding out clear coat. So it came out pretty good, and I ended up being pretty satisfied with the results, and so was the owner. So that's all that counts. Okay, so I wrapped up compounding and polishing all of the panels that still have clear coat on them, and you can see this nice stark line here on the hood. I thought the clear coat was completely gone on this, but upon polishing it, just to see what would happen, it's actually kind of shining up a little bit, and it's not leaving black residue on my pad, which tells me that there's still clear coat there. It's just heavily oxidized. So, for one thing, that means more work, but for another, it means that I can really improve the look of this vehicle even more now by doing the hood. So, all right, gotta do that. Okay, compounding and polishing is finally done on this. It's not perfect by any means. I wasn't going for perfection. Definitely not a car that you're gonna get perfect because it's just so worn out. But now, with all of that done, before I wipe down and seal it, I'm gonna go ahead and do the plastic dressing. And so to do that, I'm just gonna use a little bit of Mother's Back to Black so we can kind of rehydrate the plastic and kind of seal it up. And I'm gonna use a brush and this microfiber to kind of work it in. So we'll do all that, and then we will probably clean the glass and then do an isopropyl wipe down and then seal it. So still quite a few more steps, man, but this car is gonna be looking great once we're done. So let's get into doing the plastics here. It's actually accepting this Mother's pretty well. Sometimes you'll come across black plastics that are really thirsty and they'll want a lot of this to really kind of darken back up. This one's responding pretty well. See how it looks after I kind of buff this outer edge here. I'll kind of massage it in. I could have started with the microfiber as well, but since we have so many intricate surfaces, I wanted to use the brush. Let's see what a little bit more does. Yeah, that didn't really significantly darken it anymore. So we might actually get kind of lucky and be able to just, you know, get the best of this product after just a simple one pass without having to do a bunch of coats. You can kind of feel when the rag starts to run smooth. That's kind of when you've got the product at least dried somewhat. And buffed. Okay. And there you go. Not fully black again, but at least a little bit darker, a little more hydrated and protected. So we're gonna do that across the grille here, and then on the up under the windshield wipers, and then we'll also do there's some little plastics on the back bumper. We'll give the same treatment, and then it'll be time to move to the next steps. So let me do those, and then I'll jump back in. With all of the black plastics dressed and rehydrated with the Mother's Back to Black, I decided to move down to polishing the exhaust tip. In order to do this, I just took some of my Meguiar's Ultimate Polish and put a few drops onto a little bit of 4/0 steel wool, or 40 steel wool, however you prefer to say it, and then I just ran that over the exhaust tip several times until it sort of brought its shine back. After the exhaust tip was done, I off camera quickly gave all of the panels an IPA wipe down with isopropyl alcohol to prep it for using the Griot's Garage 3-in-1 ceramic spray wax. In order to use this, you just lightly mist the product onto a panel and then spread the product around with a microfiber towel. Once you've done that, you just come in and you buff off what you spread on, and then there you go, it's applied. This was actually my first time using Griot's Garage 3-in-1 ceramic spray wax, but I had only heard good things about it, so I thought this car would be a good time to try it out. I just repeated the same process that I just explained on every single panel on the car, everything except for the glass, because I had heard that it doesn't play very well with glass, and I also hadn't cleaned the windows yet. The instructions on this product say that it takes 12 to 24 hours for the product to cure, and in that time you shouldn't let it get wet or anything like that. And then optionally you can go in after that 12 to 24 hour period and put on a second coating to increase the water beading if you desire. Since I had already had this vehicle for a long time and it was time to get it back to the owner, I opted not to do the second coat, but I do think the water beading was actually working pretty well, even just with one coat. Here's some footage actually of the next day when there was still a little bit of raindrops and stuff falling out of the tree, and you can see the water beading is working pretty well. This is going to help make maintenance washes in the future on this vehicle a lot easier for probably at least 4 months or so here in Texas. My apologies, here in the video after I got done sealing the car with the Griot's spray ceramic wax, I went in and cleaned the windows. I actually didn't get any footage of that, but in order to do that effectively, you just come in, and I like to do vertical swipes or wipes on the glass on one side of the glass and then horizontal on the other, and then that easily lets you determine where your streaks are at if you're getting streaks. The easiest way to get streak-free glass that I've found is just to have one rag dedicated to the actual wiping and removing of grime from the window, and then you have another that's just a drying towel, and you just go in and you buff off any streaks that washing rag may leave. After that, the vehicle was done, and here is the next day with it sitting back out in the driveway, and you can see just the crazy difference that we were able to pull off on this thing. I mean, it looks massively different than where we started. Let me get some before and afters in here for you guys, and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right, there you have it. We finally did it. That's all 5 parts. And I mean, wow, this vehicle came out great. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it looks so much better than it did before. I'm happy with the results. I mean, definitely a good learning experience in several different spots. I would say by no means does this vehicle come out like perfect, like it's not, you know, show car ready or anything like that. But for doing this in my garage, in the driveway, experimenting with some new techniques and some new sort of detailing aspect things that I had never done before, I'm really happy with how this car came out, and I think the owner really was too. She really seemed to be kind of blown away by everything we got done. So that's it for part 5 and for the series. I hope you guys enjoyed this sort of in-depth look at literally all facets of what I know to do in detailing, basically. So this is kind of the most comprehensive series I've put together to date. I might not be quite done putting out videos on this car. We may do some things where it's like, okay, we're gonna take the entire process and put it together in one long video for people that are interested, or we may just stick with this playlist, I'm not sure. Or I may do like a little summary video, I don't know. So don't be surprised if you see just a little bit more content coming out of this vehicle But as far as the nuts and bolts go, this is pretty much the crux of the series. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to give this last video a like here. Give the other videos in the series a watch if you haven't. Give those a like as well. And be sure to subscribe too, because I'm not done yet. There's still plenty to do on the other project vehicles like the GMC Yukon that you guys have seen in some past videos, as well as my own personal truck. Like I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to detail my own truck. So there'll be videos coming out for that as well if you're into the detailing stuff. And if you're into more of the automotive repair kind of stuff, where I do kind of like some driveway fixes on things, I'll have some of that coming up as well, because my truck has tons of problems. So I'm not out of stuff to fix on it either, so I can make videos on that as well. Anyways, I'll quit rambling. Hope you guys enjoyed the 2010 Mazda detailing series, and I will see you guys later.